So Jim, been put a lot of thought into this. We're pivoting and we're changing up our system here a little bit and the way we're doing things. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning today, last night, however you want to look at it, which sucks for me because I was trying to sleep. But my brain started turning, and I was just thinking about how we were going to approach this. And you and I had talked about coming up with a not so much a tight topic, but sort of what direction we were going to talk about. And I think you and I both are in the same boat. And if I had to synthesize this week, meaning current events and the things that are bothering you and I would synthesize it down to government overreach, whether it's taking Maduro out and going into a sovereign nation and kidnapping the president in the middle of the night and we're going to take their oil, to the shooting in Michigan, which is ICE agents on the streets, militarized on the streets, and then this talk again of toppling Cuba and taking Greenland and all this stuff. I feel like what I have seen, again, it's just all the same symptom of government overreach.
Yeah, and I just want to take a quick minute and say we definitely send our thoughts, our prayers, and our care out, prayers out to everyone who was shot. It's an extremely sad situation in your country when you have a government agency taking out brute force on a citizen, whether or not she was a reason to or not. It's just unacceptable for us as Americans. That's not who we are. And yeah, Chuck, I'm with you. The current events, you hit it. It feels like it's been nothing but a grab game, right? I'm going to go take more and more and more. More and more, I find myself saying, oh, it's mini Putin, it's mini Kim Jong-il. It's like when you look at someone's favorites and their role models, you can see where we're going, right?
Right.
And so it's disturbing. You could have called me at 2 a.m. when you were up last night because I was up till 2 a.m. as well. All right, look, we've spent plenty of time talking about passports, exotic places, and the best places to get lost.
Mostly because Jim actually got us lost half the time.
Hey, it's called unplanned exploration. But look, eventually every traveler has to hit the package. And that's usually where the fun ends and reality hits you smack in the face.
I'm Chuck Longerbeam.
And I'm Jim Howard. We're both staring 60 in the face. And we've realized that the most important journey isn't across the ocean. It's the one where you finally stop worrying about who you're offending and start speaking your truth.
We're unpacking more than just suitcases now. We're talking about the big pivots, reinventing your life and your career at an age when society thinks we should just be quiet and pick up pickleball.
Not happening, Chuck. And we're going to talk about this country. But we're done with this left versus right, blue versus red food fights. It's exhausting. We're going to talk about right versus wrong.
Basically, we're applying common sense to a world that seems to have run out of it. We're keeping it authentic, unfiltered, and knowing us, probably a little bit loud.
Hey, we're two guys who have seen enough to have an opinion, and we're finally sharing it. No filters, no labels, just real talk.
The bags are on the carousel, and let's be honest, half of them are probably lost. Are you ready to claim what's yours?
Let's get this journey started.
Well, it's crazy. Like, you and I had talked about this before, but, there are far too many people throwing out the word Nazi nowadays, just as there are far too many people tending to be on the right, calling people on the left pedophiles. And you and I have talked about this. We brushed on this part of it short. But if you and I are having an argument, conversation, discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, and you call me a pedophile, chances are I'm not listening to the next thing out of your mouth. Just as if I call you a Nazi, you're probably not listening to the next thing coming out of my mouth. And I don't believe for a minute that 50% of the American people are Nazis, and I don't believe 50% of American people are pedophiles. That's just nonsense. It's lazy verbal shorthand. But I also have to say that I'm a student of history, and you look at any fascist government, and I'm not gonna just gonna say Hitler. You're talking Mussolini. You're talking about Stalin. Any fascist, they start with the attacking of the free press and villainizing the free press. Then it's soldiers in the streets, which we're seeing with literal soldiers and ICE.
And by the way, all the barricades are going up in DC right now.
Right. And then the other part of it, the usual there's actually two more parts. Then there's usually the empire building. We're going to take over Greenland. We're going to take over Venezuela and their oil, even though it's theirs. And then the last part I don't think we talk about enough is the enrichment of friends and like-minded people. And we have totally been given over, especially with this administration. It's been bubbling up for decades. So I'm not just blaming Donald Trump. I try my best to put blame where blame is due. So it's been bubbling up for decades, but we've seen it hyper accelerated under the Trump administration of the billionaire class getting all the toys, and the rest of us are, fighting for scraps.
It's straight out of the book, Dictators for Dummies. I mean, it
Yeah,
really is.
it is. It
And
absolutely is.
it's been interesting. I too, you watch things and you go, I wonder where I saw this. Where in my mind has history already told me this? And that's the part that has really plagued my sensibilities right now, because I'm thinking to myself, I can't be the only person, and obviously I know, Chuck, you think this way. I can't be the only person who sees this and goes, wait, what? Why are you doing that? Wait a minute. Why are we doing that? I'm yelling at the TV like Archie Bunker. I just feel like something has gone, or I should say I'm yelling at the TV like my dad. But it's just, I am physically angry with the way things are going.
Mhm.
And I'm mentally stressed and depressed and angered over the fact that not one of our elected officials, okay, there are a few, but many or most of our elected officials aren't standing up and talking. There's a lot of complicity right now, and I don't understand how that happens. We're fast to fight each other on dumb issues, but when it comes to saving our own country, this thing we call America, this dream we idolize, this Constitution that gave us our rights, the men who fought to make this country what it was and escape a king and tyranny, are suddenly falling prey to the oldest thing in the book and becoming another Roman Empire and starting to sink fast.
Well, I think I know the answer, and I don't mean this is no. I'm gonna
Folks, it's the $1,000,000 moment you're waiting for.
I'm not gonna preempt it. I'm gonna preempt it by saying that I don't think I'm a genius or anything else. Again, student of history, and we can either, and I remember what brilliant person said it. We can either, learn from history or be doomed to repeat it. And what I see is I will say I'm a lifelong Democrat liberal. I'm a lifelong progressive, have been my entire life. Can't imagine, except unless I get hit on the head, I can't imagine that changing. But I'm also a realist. And I remember, when the progressives back in I guess it was the late 80s, early 90s, took over the Democratic Party and screwed up everything because they went too far to the left and they put their eggs in all the wrong baskets. And what they did is they allowed the George W. Bush compassionate conservatism to flourish as an alternative. And that's fine. People need alternatives. People, just like in any sport, I don't like dynasties. I like, parity. And it's the same thing in politics. If you get too far to one direction, people tend to, try to overcorrect back to the other side, which is fine. Because unfortunately, we have a two-party system, so you've only got two choices. But when the progressives took over, they kind of screwed up the Democratic Party for about 8 years. What happened is that they made it so unpopular that if you were a Democrat who didn't agree with them, you were marginalized and you weren't going to get voted into office, or more importantly, you're going to get voted out of office. Unfortunately, what Donald Trump has done is, because of the kind of person he is, it's now taken that to a level that we've never, ever, ever seen before, or at least in my lifetime. Maybe if we go back and dig into the 1800s, I don't know. I'm not going to go there right now. But what I mean is, so you've got the MAGA movement, and all Republicans, whether they're MAGA or not, are scared shitless of the MAGA movement. And the reason they're scared is because, I think, just like the Tea Party, when the Tea Party took over the Republican Party, which of course now has morphed into MAGA, but when the Tea Party took over and the Republicans got waxed under 8 years of Barack Obama, I think it's because the Republicans, and I think history has figured this out, grossly estimated how many were the hardcore Tea Party faithful. And they just kept doing whatever they thought the hardcore Tea Party faithful wanted. And unfortunately, what they didn't realize is enough independents walked away from that the independent voters brought Barack Obama in twice, and they were like, we don't understand. So now here comes MAGA. The only difference is that Donald Trump does not play by any of the rules of decorum and restraint that all other presidents that we've ever known have. So not only do you have, I believe, Republican, and we'll just use Republican as a general term, Republican politicians scared of this magical MAGA base, which they say is around 35%, which I don't believe anymore. I did for a while. Now I think it's probably more like 15%, and you can still win and piss 15% off. But not only that, you've got the head of the Republican Party who will literally look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, dude. Marjorie Taylor Greene was the most right-wing MAGA nut job for what, 8 years or however long she was in Congress. She said the most vile crap about the left and Jewish space lasers and every wild ass thing you can think of. She argues with she parts with Trump this much, and for those of you listening, I've got my fingers about an inch apart, and suddenly she's persona non grata. He hammers her to the point where she says, I'm getting death threats and I now have to drop out of Congress. So you've got the president of the United
But
States.
she has not changed her tone of rhetoric. It's the same game she was speaking before.
Right.
Just a little different because she doesn't like what he's doing.
Right. But he woke up one morning and decided he didn't like what she was saying because she was pushing the releasing of the Epstein files. So he went after her.
Oh.
That to me is the big difference. We're still looking at the progressive movement screwing up the Democrats and the Tea Party screwing up the Republicans. Now we've got and rightly so. Republican politicians are scared shitless because if they balk against the king just a little bit, he goes after them, and the friend does.
This is where I call it what it is. This is dictatorship. This is what happens when you've got a person who wants to be in power and wants to have the ultimate power. They will stop at nothing to get it. Donald Trump right now is playing from the playbook of any dictator out there by simply going after his enemies and eradicating them. That's what happened during Eva Perón's Argentina. It's what's happened during, all of Vietnam. I mean, it's consistent. You see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And rather where we could be right now fighting, say, to reopen and help Cuba get caught up or, make more friends, not less, we are actually starting to do the whole alienation of Europe.
Right.
And see our country start to become a don't travel to, banned traveler. I think we've crossed a bridge that's going to be made some very big statements that you can't walk off the street real fast. It's going to take a lot of goodwill, good faith, and good belief to fix some of those things. It seems to me that we just have gone so far, there's no turning back. We're like, with this thing's rolling downhill, it's gonna do something.
Agree with you 100%. I just hope that whoever's president next, if we have another president, is someone who can successfully steer this country and foreign policy to say, look, we got a little too drunk. We made a fool of ourselves at the restaurant.
The frat party's over.
But that was the other guy. We're not doing that. So I just looked up Encyclopedia Britannica definition of a dictatorship. Form of government in which one person or a small group possesses absolute power without effective constitutional limitations. If that does not describe what we're dealing with right now, and I know people get all pissed off. Oh, it's not a dictatorship. First of all, he said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. Now we're obviously seeing that day one means 4 years. But yeah, that's what I saw. Let's talk about the shooting. Oh my God. So when I started my business, and you and I've talked about this, I'll make this very quickly. When I started my business, I decided that I had a very small Facebook presence. I had 150 friends, maybe just core people that I wanted to tell.
You did it for what it was originally built for, which was just to connect people you knew.
Right. So when we started our travel businesses, I'm like, okay, I have to have a bigger social media thing. So what I did is when you go on Facebook and it says people you may know, if we had over 10 friends in common, I would reach out to them to build, to get them to be my friend. Yeah. I'm over 3,000 now. The interesting part of that is I've never looked, but I would bet every penny I have that over 2,000 of them are people I've never met and have absolutely no clue who they are. Friends of friends of friends. So what turned out as a business decision has become this interesting social experiment. So I literally am getting people from all over the country and all walks of life that I've never met and haven't cherry picked. And what I mean by that, we all cherry pick our friends. You and I are friends. I have friends. You have friends. People we've amassed and picked up and carried with us over the years because we have something in common or our shared history or something. So I have this huge swath of people. I consider over 2,000 people a pretty huge swath of people who I've never met. I have no idea, no context, no backstory, no nothing. And I just watch what they post. And it was crazy to me. The FAFO ones, she should have followed what law enforcement said. And I'm watching, I'm an NPR nerd or a PBS nerd. So I was watching Brooks and Capehart. I don't know if you're familiar, but I was watching them. They were talking about this, and Jonathan Brooks, who I usually respect, but last night I wanted to slap around a little bit, was talking about some college football game, famous football game where there was, I guess it was a fight or something, and they took, or no, it was contentious, and they took the one team and showed them the film, and they said, oh, the other team got all the penalty breaks, and then the other team said the exact opposite. So it's how you look at it. It's like, okay, fine. Let's say that Jim looks at the video and I look at the video. We see two different things. Fine. I'm not even gonna litigate that. I'm not gonna argue with that, because to me that's a fool's errand. Here's what I will tell you: if you do watch the video, he pulls his gun before she starts to move forward. First of all, he
walks towards her, gun drawn,
well,
at an angle.
Well, first of all, he's videotaping her on his phone. I don't know of any law enforcement rule that says that's cool, but he pulls his gun either before she moves or as she's moving. But more importantly, DOJ guidelines from like 2018 say that you specifically cannot fire at a moving vehicle unless you directly fear for your life and can't get out of the way. So let's say for a minute, and I didn't see this part. I did not see this in the video, but let's say for a minute that she grazed his thigh. Okay, I won't argue that. He doesn't stumble. He doesn't fall. He steps back, shoots her in the face 3 times.
Yeah. It was disturbing.
Right. And then and then people on Facebook are like, well, she shouldn't have evaded arrest. She should have listened. Like, okay, fine. Let's say let's say you and I both agree with that 100%. When did evading the police become a death sentence in this country? That's my question. Forget all the rest of it. Forget all of the angles and the this and the that and the other thing. When did evading arrest? Let's assume she wasn't, but let's assume she was for a minute. When did evading arrest become a death sentence in this country?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's the things that are changing that just nobody's talking about, right? And before I had an opinion on that whole gunshots and dead people and all that going on, I wanted to see more. Right? I'm not going to read the first talking head or listen to the first.
Me either.
So it was later in the evening when I saw multiple camera angles and watched and said, and I cried and I screamed out loud, "You murdered her."
Yes.
Because there's no doubt in my mind when I look at he was premeditated by that point. He had taken his gun out. He held it in a manner that says, I watch too much TV because I think you can fire a gun like that, Well, where you're facing on its side. And he's covered his face to be sure he can't be seen. He fires into the front window the first time, right? From what I saw. As soon as she turns and that window's down, he goes again and into that seat. If you were trying to deter her, the front window would be enough. Most people get a bullet in the window. They're going to be like, okay. He went after her. He took her down. And he murdered that woman.
I can't argue that. I agree with that 100%. But then I have two other problems with this. First of all, then they came out and said, and let's say this is true. I don't know. This is multiple sources. This is not some lunatic on X that's saying this. Multiple sources that sometime last year, he was in a similar situation and he was drugged for 50 feet by a car. Okay, fine. No, hold on. Let's say that happened. So here's my question. Oh, and then also he's got many, many years of service. Okay, if he does, thank you for your service, sir. So Jim, if you got drugged by a car last year and had to have 30 stitches or whatever the hell they said happened, why the hell are you standing in front of a car? I'm sorry, you're trained.
Most human beings react to certain ways.
Look, if you've been on the job 2 weeks, I'll give it to you. But the administration, touted that he'd been, on the job for a long time. Okay, why are you standing in front of a car of an agitated person who's behind the wheel with the motor running, videotaping it on your phone? Where's the accountability? And then the thing that bothered me the most, and again, I'm with you. I hate saying this, but thoughts and prayers, but I feel for her family. I feel for her wife who was sitting in the car when she was shot in the face 3 times, her kids, her family. It's awful. I absolutely feel for these people. And I mean that from the sincerest part of my body. But the most disturbing thing about all of this is that within minutes, Kristi Noem came out and called her a domestic terrorist. And then an hour later, J.D. Vance called her everything but trash. And said,
agitators. The word now is that she was an agitator.
Yeah.
You know the last time I heard agitator used in politics was World War II. I'm going to tell you.
There you go.
There's a ticking time bomb right now that's going on.
Well,
and we can all see the clock, by the way. If you don't see the clock, then you've got some scales right now.
Well, it's like the 2 people were shot in Portland. That's just been glossed over. Like that's
didn't even get talked about. I kept looking for news on it, thinking it's every bit as important as this woman gets shot down in where she was. But it's like
but it's like, well, and that's the other thing. That Cash Patel runs in on a white horse and the FBI will take this over. And it's like, I don't trust Cash Patel's FBI as far as I can throw him. And I was talking to a guy at work about this, and he was saying, well, and he's not a right-wing nut job. He's not a Trumpy. He's just your average American who was, what am I trying to say? Processing this out loud. And he goes, well, I just feel like if, it's horrible that she's dead and all that, but I just feel like if maybe she had listened to the police officer. And I'm like, I'm gonna be straight with you. Most of my life I have been, respectful of authority and, within reason and all that. But if an ICE agent tried to was jerking on the handle of my door and trying to get me out of my car, I'd fucking drive away too. I mean, look,
I mean, I think she did the logical thing. She knew everybody knows what's going on. So she's like, well, I don't want to get hauled off to wherever he's going to haul me off. I'm going to get out of here before he gets me.
Well, not to mention the fact, if I'm looking at an ICE agent, I'm like, you can't fucking detain me. I'm an American citizen. I've got a driver's license. I've got a passport. Screw you. You basically have no jurisdiction over me other than you're a federal agency. Prove to me, just like a police officer can't walk up. I know some of the police officers here in town. Like I'm sure you do. I live in a big county, but I know some. Someone walked up to me right now and said, "You're under arrest. I'm taking you in." I'm like, "Whoa, time out. What's the charge? What am I under arrest for? What the hell are you talking about?" I wouldn't just go, "Okay." I mean, I'm not saying I would fight back or anything like that, but I would at least verbally go, "Oh, wait, time out. You have to tell me what I'm charged with. What do you mean I'm under arrest? I'm just standing here minding my own business." So she's going, and she even said, "I'm not mad at you, dude." And the one guy runs up, starts jerking. I'm going to tell you what, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Jim. I am not a violent man and never have been. But if you ran up and if I had the window down, you started jerking on me, I might punch you in the face just out of general principle. Like, what are you doing? Like,
and Chuck's a formidable guy. You don't want this coming at you.
I mean, get your hands off her vehicle. What are you doing? And it's a woman. Yes, there's a difference. And she's scared. And the other thing, I was, those of you who've ever listened to this before, I was in education for 20 years. I worked with tough kids, behavioral issues. So I'm a student of behavior. And people know this, but in any threatening situation, there's fight, flight, and they've added freeze now. So there are only three. So you're a woman in a car with a woman, a large man with a gun comes up and starts jerking on your door handle.
Several large men with guns.
Well, one of them comes up and starts working on your door handle, screaming to get out of the car. I putting it in drive and fleeing, and she didn't lunge at him or anything else. She drove away in what I would consider a normal manner, a couple miles an hour, whatever it is.
She didn't try to speed off.
Right.
It certainly wasn't gunning it.
But, you drive a certain slow speed until you can accelerate when there's no, and dude pops her in the face 3 times. It's just, and then to call, and then you've got, Kristi Noem and JD Vance calling her a thug and calling her a terrorist and completely exonerating the officer, even though they didn't have time to look at anything, and saying that he has complete immunity. And then let me pivot for a minute, because we're on the same topic, and that, and then calling it, and then invading a sovereign country in Venezuela and pulling out Maduro and his wife in the middle of the night, and then calling it a police action. Oh no, it was a law enforcement action. Since when do we take leaders from other countries, bring them to this country, and prosecute them with our laws? Like, did you see one of the?
When we went after Noriega, we played loud music on his compound. That is as hard as we got.
Right, and then he ran into a church and said, "I want sanctuary."
I'm done. Stop.
We had to weed him out. I don't know if you actually saw the charging document. I read part of it. Did you see one of the charges they hit Maduro with is that he was in possession of automatic weapons? Is that even illegal in Venezuela?
Well, when can we apply our laws to another country? Never. It doesn't work that way. And there is no really world law. There is common decency law or common understanding laws, but we don't have a world law, world court book we follow, right? Those things are kind of pulled up. So I hate when someone says, "Oh, the world says you can't do that." The world doesn't have anything to do. So.
Well, right. And I'm not sure about this, but I don't think you're allowed to have handguns in England, or you have to have special licenses or whatever. Can you imagine getting arrested in England for jaywalking? I don't know if that's a law over there. Bear with me on this. Can you imagine getting arrested for jaywalking in England, and then looking on your Facebook post and seeing that you have a handgun and charging you with possessing a handgun, which is legal in this country? It's just,
I know.
it's just,
So if you just
And I talk
catching
to
up,
people every day who don't see it. It's like being in a car, you know, in the garage with the door closed and you know the car's on and the CO2 slowly making you fall asleep. And the whole time you're going, "It's okay. I'm comfortable. I'm not asleep yet." That's what it feels like.
eventually kids won't know what that means because, electric cars don't put off, I could sit in my garage all day with my electric car and not kill myself.
Thank you, Jim. I needed that. I really needed that. But no, seriously, I mean, you're like, I mean, you know, and then we're gonna invade Greenland, and we're gonna do when
Cuba, Mexico.
when
Yeah, yeah.
when did
We are in this expansionist policy. Someone said,
well, when did we become okay with this? Because the same Trumpies that I talk to who still think he's doing a bang up job are the ones that voted for him because they wanted America first and they wanted to fix the economy. Well, somebody
"Well, how
said
you're doing, but that fixed economy is doing great for me."
somebody said the other day, I can't remember who it was, some fairly intelligent pundit was like, the invading Venezuela does not help me at the grocery store at all. It doesn't help the fact that my rent keeps going up. It doesn't help it's not America first at all. And then Trump's like, well, we want, you know, good people on our border. Dude, you need to look at a map. Venezuela is not on our border, first of all. You really,
Well,
really,
he's already counting Mexicans as Mexico state.
I know, I know.
So
So I was talking to I'm an international in my day job. I'm an international sales rep, and I was talking to a fine gentleman yesterday from Canada, and we were talking about different things, and you know, we was talking about tariffs and the extra money he has to pay for our products and all of that. And you know the world we live in now, Jim. When you're talking to reasonable people, you kind of have to feel each other out to figure out
yeah,
where you are, because if you say the wrong thing, you could be in a quagmire of you're an idiot, you're a pedophile, you're this, you're that, you're a Nazi. He was kind of feeling me out, and I'm like, well, I'll just put it to you this way. We wake up every morning here wondering what fresh hell today will bring. And he's like, I didn't want to say it. He goes, but you're living in a shit show. And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea. I said, you're 100% correct. I said, it just every day you have to wonder what rule they're going to drive over with reckless abandon.
hey, George Bush came out the other day and said gleefully he was happy he could no longer be called the dumbest president ever.
Yeah.
He said, and that's a lot. George Bush actually, first of all, he was admitting he was a bad president,
Right.
but he says, I at least knew where to stop.
Right. Well,
I
and
thought to myself, you go, George.
it's funny you say that. I could go on and on and on and on about George W. Bush, and I won't. But I will tell you that in the 8 years he was president, I agreed with very, very few things that he did. But I never worried that he was going to wake up one morning and literally piss off all of our allies. I never worried that he was going to invade. Now, granted, we did Iraq and Afghanistan, which were under false pretenses, but at least there was, and I'm not excusing him, but at least there was a context. We were attacked.
And it was done authoritatively. That was done with the government's approval, it was with Congress's approval.
Right.
An act of war was declared.
Through blatant misinformation. But you're correct.
Right, okay, got it.
No, no,
I don't care. The guy who's doing it now has got blatant
you're right.
misinformation
I'm
too,
sorry.
right?
I'm sorry. You're right. I just went, you're 100% right. I just went into apples and
Yeah,
oranges.
so for me, it's just, even if we would just get back to doing things the way the protocol says, the way the book's written, I would feel different. At least I would say, well, then I can now hold all these other people accountable as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I never worried about George W. Bush waking up one morning and going, I'm going to invade Cuba.
But on his worst days,
Or
George
I'm
Bush
gonna
showed more presidency
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
than Donald Trump's ever shown.
Well, and it's so crazy. So when Trump got reelected, I imagine that you went into a depression spiral just like I did. Because
Yeah, I don't think I'm out of it yet.
I'll be honest, I had no clue it was going to be this bad, but I knew it was going to be bad. So a guy I know who was like, well, I'm excited. He was excited Trump was elected. I'm like, okay, so I'm just listening to him. He goes, yeah, he didn't know what to do the first 4 years, but now he knows what to do. He can really fix things. And looking hindsight being 2020, he was correct, except the problem is he surrounded himself with complete yes people. There were at least professionals last time. There was Mattis, there was Rex Tillerson. There were people who'd be like, sir, that you can't do that.
They worked in the government long enough to know.
So he surrounded himself with sycophantic yes people. And
Now he's got people who are
and he figured out
influenced.
he could just do things so quickly that the government is designed to go slowly so that no one can take over. But he's just running over, everybody. And I'll listen to the courts if I like what they have to say. If not, they don't have any jurisdiction over me. And yeah, so there's no brakes on this man at all.
No, I mean, you couple that with obviously his declining health. it's a declining mental state. And I'm not saying that in any other way than I often watch him and then put my father in context with that, right? Because we've been about the same age.
Hmm.
So I sit there and I go, I saw these things in my dad, right?
Yeah.
I saw these same behaviors,
Yeah.
right? So they're not uncommon. Sundown is a very common thing.
Sure.
Mental exhaustion as you get older is a common thing. Losing your voice. Joe Biden was going to it too. So I
Sure.
just as much the
Absolutely.
same issue. Um,
Absolutely.
and I sit there and I go, so this always comes back to me as we have to think about how we elect going forward in terms of too old, where's he going to be in 8 years, right? That kind of thing. But there's just the man has some serious ADD. He's always checking the next bright thing. He may call his conversations the wobble. That's what he coined it as. I think his life is a wobble. He just hopes to find the first thing that just pays out. So what we are all experiencing is a man who's got no master plan necessarily,
No.
other than to ensure he gains power and makes money.
Well,
And this is what happens maybe when you put a career businessman into the office versus someone who understands the government.
I'm going to push back on you a little
Okay.
bit, which I never do.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you are.
No, I don't mean it that way. I know it has become popular to say career businessman, but he's not.
No, he's a career thug,
Well,
thief.
yeah, no, I'm saying he's a con man. He's a
Yeah.
fraudster. I mean, he went bankrupt 5 times. I mean, I'm just going to say this, and I'm just going to mic drop and walk away because this one. When everybody starts talking about not you, but when people like Trumpies start talking about he's a successful businessman, he bankrupted a casino.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
What else?
I mean, the man was worth nothing at one point. We have to remember that.
Politics take everything out of it. If I said to you, yeah, Jim, I know this guy bankrupted a casino, you'd be like, what an idiot. Like,
Yeah, one business you probably should never go wrong.
Like, casinos are money pits. What do you?
And the only time casinos lost money was COVID.
Right? And it yeah, he lost. he bankrupted a casino in the 80s. What? Like, no, can't be.
The most hedonistic time in the United States.
Right, that guy's an idiot. Well, it just happens to be our president. Idiot in business. Now, I think you're right. I know you're right. His whole. If you ever get a chance, if you ever want to go down this rabbit hole, read the Roy Cohn books around Roy Cohn. And
doing it all.
Okay, so Roy Cohn is the reason Donald Trump is the way Donald Trump is. Roy Cohn's whole thing was attack, double down, double down, double down. And Trump took that to heart, and that's his whole thing. Don't apologize for anything, just keep attacking. And what he has figured out is with our 24-hour news cycle, and because our government is meant to move slowly, if you just beat the shit out of everybody and just keep moving, by the time the government catches up, you're on to the next thing.
And you can blame the media why things are all wrong because they're moving it and talking about it. They don't get it right. I mean, the man has a great formula. I mean, that's not be belying the part that he knows his formula and he plays it well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's demolish the east wing of the White House. Great. What's there now? A hole. Nothing's happening. Oh, we're ahead of schedule. We're under budget. Really? I'd like to see proof of that, right? Everything. In fact, what I love now is the rise of the fact checkers coming straight out of Congress. People are like, here are the 18 things he lied about during the last speech he did. I read the book, Fred Trump's book, the book about his father. I read the book, have read lots of books about Trump. One of the things that I saw early in the books, he's very much making up for a bad relationship with his father.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And the whole, the narcissistic approach of they're great, I'm great, it was the best thing ever. I mean, the man does not know how to say anything without saying it was the best one ever, the most ever, the best. He has done the most ever, best ever for this country. And I would argue that at some point it starts to become a very old story, old sound, and that's just all he knows. He doesn't know. He was talking about people like Venezuela and England and others that he doesn't like right now as great people less than a year ago, wonderful people. And now they're, his enemies because he couldn't extort what he wanted out of them.
Well,
you got to watch it, folks. And listen, Mother, you're just catching up here. Yes, this is still Life in the Baggage Claim. And if any of you took experience in our 4-part miniseries during season 1, well, this is season 2. And guess where we're at? This is the bang we're going off with. And this is going to be what we're going to do for a year. So unless the government comes and takes us away, and then,
I had a narcissist in my family, and I learned several things. First of all, they're masters at gaslighting. Second of all, they tend to be functionally intelligent, but not insightfully intelligent.
They know how to pick the facts and figures they need.
Right. Like, yeah, they're good. They're good at the nuts and bolts of things, but like, I call it the mirror. Some people have a mirror they can hold up to themselves and self-reflect. Some people have no mirror whatsoever. Narcissists have no mirror. They can't see themselves other than to admire themselves. And the other thing is, I noticed from my family member, when they get stuck on something, like they get, if they turn a phrase or a group of words that they think sounds interesting, smart, or cool, they go forever with it. And just like you said, to reiterate, like no one's ever seen before. Like he says that all the time, or no one can believe it, or people tell me all the time. Who tells you, dude? Nobody's telling. You're not walking the streets. And then I'm just going to say it, and he can come after me if he, not that he would ever see this, but no, the biggest threat to our way of life right now in this country is a man named Stephen Miller. Because I read an article yesterday from a credible source that says insiders are saying that all of this, the Venezuela thing, the ICE crackdown, all of that is coming directly from Stephen Miller, and he knows exactly. And that's the other thing about a narcissist. If you're the right kind of personality, you can play a narcissist to you can tell them things and then make them believe they're the ones who came up with it, which then tweaks their.
It's not hard. You can get a narcissist to take
But
your
that's what I
idea.
mean, but if you get good at it, you can make a narcissist believe that it was their idea, and if they believe it's their idea, nothing will stop them from.
Well, and I'm going to be, let's take it one step further. There's not one big thing Trump's done that isn't because somebody else is putting money in his pocket. He wants Greenland because of the cosmetics company. He wanted Venezuela because of the oil billionaires. If you're a billionaire and you want something, you need 5 minutes of Donald Trump and it will become a hot topic and you will get what you want. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just say it. That's what's going to
You're
happen.
right. Well, you know what scares me more is, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Chevron came out and said, as of right now, Venezuela is
they said there's too much has to change for them to want to go in.
Right, uninvested. Yeah. We can't invest in them. So it makes me wonder, knowing narcissists and knowing what I know about Donald.
He heard them say somewhere at one time.
Or Stephen Miller or somebody like that whispered in his ear and said, sir, you're going to get pushback from this, but the oil companies will love you because they can go in there and get the oil. Oil prices will go down. Gas prices will go down. The American people will love you. I can imagine that happening and Trump going, yeah, okay, do it. And of course, Hegseth, is such a, what they like to say, such a beta. He wants to prove himself all the time. So he was like, let's do it. And, and then here we are. And then the oil companies are like, yeah, we can't do anything in Venezuela, not without major, major changes that would cost the U.S. millions and billions of dollars.
Which is the same meeting he's doing that where Trump gets up and just wanders around the room and looks at the windows. It's like, are we boring you?
Did you think it was either yesterday or the day before? Because the hell blends, the shit show blends together. But they were in a meeting with.
When he went to the doors and looked and said, this would be.
No. They were in a meeting with Chevron.
Oh, and he read it out loud.
And he read it out loud.
I don't know if anybody's been. I don't know if anybody watches behind the back scenes of what's going on. But if you look at Mark Rubio 8 years ago and you look at Mark Rubio today,
he has lost his soul.
Look at a man who sold his soul. Yeah. And hates the fact that he's there.
Yes. Oh, God,
yeah. When you look at him and JD, and I don't like JD either, sitting next to Trump, they can't handle the smell and they can't handle what's going on. And for those of you, the whole smell commentary is that Trump has clearly got health issues.
Yes.
He is having multiple things going on right now. He may be half dead for all we know.
Yeah.
He is wearing some kind of bag that helps him. He's got devices to keep him going. I mean, he's becoming into, the Ultraman, and because he likes to be fit as always, he's going to never say anything. But the ill-fitting suits, the baggy pants we knew about 4 years ago is because he wore diapers.
Well, the bottom line is this: the man eats McDonald's, and this is not me taking a pot shot at him. This has been reported over and over and over again. The man eats McDonald's.
Still eats McDonald's
all the time. I know when I was in my 20s, if I ate McDonald's too much, the gas coming out of me was, could clear a room. And I'm not trying to be funny. I can only imagine. And, you said something.
And when you're 80, it just happens more.
Right. Well, you said, I know I'm sure you're in the same boat. My digestive system is not as robust as it once was.
Yeah, you don't want to be around me after certain meals.
That's what I mean. I got to be careful what I eat. Otherwise, but no, you said something interesting. There's such a, and we probably should explore this one in our next one, because otherwise we're gonna, we're 40 odd minutes now. We're gonna look at another 2-hour monster if we do it now. The tribalism of this country. So the same people who were like, Joe Biden is not fit, he's losing his mind and everything else, are losing his faculties and all of that, are the same ones that will excuse the same shit in Trump. And here's the crazy part. Here's the different part that I see with what you talked about being right or wrong, not being right or left, but being right or wrong. When it comes to the Epstein files, and I know I'm jumping off here, but I'll come right back. When it comes to the Epstein files, I have said, and I mean from my heart, if any Democrat, if there's credible evidence, if there's real evidence that they harmed a child, put them in jail for the rest of their fucking lives. Okay? Do I think it would have been the smartest thing the Democratic Party has done in the last 30 years to push Joe Biden out a year before the election? Yes. He was clearly not 100%, and it would have gone so far against. First of all, I think Kamala Harris would be president right now, but that's another story, because if she'd had a year of being president, I think
she would at least been able to prove her capabilities through a campaign.
Right. Instead of people saying she wasn't elected anything, whatever.
No, I agree with you there.
My point is that the same people I won't even say the same people on the wrong side of history who are excusing everything Trump does are the same ones that were screaming for
about it in Biden, yeah.
Joe Biden's head because he was old and feeble. And Joe Biden was 81 when he left office. Trump will be 80 in, April or May. So it's like, really, you're going to look at me? Look, if you want to argue with me that there's a huge difference between 20 and 30, fine, because science has shown that your brain is not fully formed at 20. I'll go there. But if you want to try to tell me there's a huge difference between 80 and 81, you can kiss my white ass, because that.
And then I'm sorry, the 8 years, whether you break it up into 2 4s or, 2 4s with a break, 8 years as president of the biggest most powerful country in the world takes a toll. Look at Obama, how young he came in, how old he went out.
Look at George W. Bush. Look at all.
Bush. I mean, these guys go in looking young and virile and come out looking like they've just been thrown through the chewers a few times, right?
Right.
And I think we forget that this is it's a hard job being president. I'm not saying it isn't.
It's
a lot on your shoulders. You're around the clock, people waking you up, taking calls, shit happens every day. But the thing that's different is our other presidents had the competency, even Joe Biden, to stop for a second before reacting.
Right.
Our current president is a reactionary guy.
There's no filter.
If you don't like something, he does it immediately.
Right.
If you do something wrong, he's right away going to take it out.
You're right.
Right. And that is where it gets scary, because this is the guy who's got the nuclear codes. He's got the control of the military. He's got military folks who have said they'll break the law to help them, but he's got others who said they won't. I want to believe that in the end, because my dad was a vet and others I know are vets, the military won't just bend to his will. Militaries are often the direct cause for coups. And he's got enough militia members in his MAGA movement to call on. So that's January 6th. I mean, it was a coup. I'm sorry. If you don't like that thinking, if that bothers you and you're not, if you're so Twinkie snowflake that you can't handle being told that, then you need to really go back and look at what history says a coup is. We had a coup attempted here. I saw what happened when Gorbachev was president. I had a person I worked for in Russia as it was going on. Play by play, same thing was going on. We don't know when that's going to happen again. And I'm going to tell you what, there is a date you can predict, and it's going to be the next elections. They will go run at it very fast when the elections come up. If we have them, if we have elections, which the midterms will swing things no matter what, because I think even the far-flung people on either side are coming to the point of enough's enough.
So
if he isn't impeached before that, we will see another round at taking over the country.
So I used to work with a gentleman who I love very much. I lovingly said was a right-wing nut job. He did not argue that, who still believes that, January 6th was Antifa and that it was set up to embarrass Donald Trump. So he took the day Trump was inaugurated in 2025, he took the day off work because he was afraid shit was going to hit the fan. So the next day he came back to work. I'm like, I heard you took the day off because you were worried. He goes, yeah, I was worried. I'm like, dude, look, I'm going to make it very, very, very simple for you. And there's a little part of me that is proud of this, and there's a very large part of me that's kind of ashamed of this. I said, Democrats don't storm buildings, dude. We make placards and we yell real loud. I said, if you
use great rhetoric.
Right, I said, if you truly believe that Antifa tried to stop the the seating of Joe Biden to embarrass Trump, but you don't believe that they didn't storm the Capitol to keep Trump from being reelected or reseated, then you're all jacked up. I mean, are you like
Yeah.
there's not, but there's a little part of me that understands the mentality of Trump folks, which is we staged a coup January 6th. We weren't successful, so it's got to be somebody else. There's a little part of me that understands that. Okay, not really, but I see that. But then fast forward 4 years and Trump is reelected and it goes through Congress super smooth. There were protests, but they stood behind the fences and had their signs. How can you still believe it was the Democrats who tried to keep, more importantly, so wait a minute, so they stole the presidency but gave the Republicans the House and the Senate? Like, come on. None of it makes sense.
I mean, if you think the Republicans, if you don't think MAGA and all that was behind the coup on the country, if you don't believe the Republican Party was behind that, the wrath of ultra emboldened fringe lunatics that were emboldened to think that it was their turn to own the country, then I really gotta say you need to check yourself a little bit. You just need to go back and look and do a little reading and thinking. No president in history has done a speech on that, like that, the week before Inauguration Day, where he stood out and talked about,
"Hell, you're not going to have a country anymore."
Listen to the
words. That's not insightful, Jim. That's not insightful.
No, listen to the words, read the books, get the information. Well, I know this has been a really great episode of talking about this stuff. I think for me, these are great vent sessions. You're the one person, Chuck, I still get to talk to that I can blow up and share something with. And then hopefully our listeners are saying that, we're going to give you a call to action. And I think the big call to action coming out of this episode is ICE is on the rise and move. So know your rights. Understand what can be taken from you and not. Understand what they have the right to do and not. You do not have to submit to the police even if they were warned, you don't have to submit to the police. You do not have to let them into your home.
Right.
You don't have to let them into your vehicle.
Right.
You have the right to get support and counsel before any of that happens. So, I tell my friends when I see it happening here, and we've got a good network going on here now, finally, that we've got some friends who tell us when they know ICE is active, right? So then we take, and that goes out through the network, our little spider network, and tells everybody, get your family ready just in case. Be ready. If you know ICE is in your town, be ready. If you get stopped, answer with simple questions like, I do not need to do that. I'm not going to do that. You do not need to ever speak to a police officer that pulls you over. You don't have to. There's no law says you have to.
Right.
You can sit silent and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
And you can turn to them and say, do you have anything for me, anything to process for me? If they can't come up with it, you can leave.
Right.
There's nothing to hold you there. Don't lose sight of what you currently have the right to do. And I'm going to also say this. Be aware that there are, this is going to sound lunatic, I'm sure, but there are networks being built to track you. And if you don't think that's true, go back and read the Patriot Act.
Oh, yes.
But they are now moving towards giving ICE the power to read your social media. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, you think social media is your safe place and you can talk. Social media hasn't been safe since it came out. It was an engineered tool to make sure we all could track what was going on to sell the data. It was a billionaire's playset to buy everything about us. It was not meant to be a monitoring system, but boy, did it turn quickly into that. Mm-hmm. So like me, who likes to vent off and blow steam on Facebook and say things and call for the end of the Trump and other things, be aware of how far you take it and whether you post it and you should remove it. I've gone through a few of those this week myself. Your call to action, start raising your awareness. Mm-hmm. Learn, read, be aware. Know your rights, know what you can do, know what you can't do. Don't carry a gun if you're not allowed to. Don't be ready to fight if you're not allowed to. Be a peaceful protester. Agitate in a peaceful way. Speak up for the truth. Be on the side of the right time and not the wrong time. Be on the right side of history and not the wrong side of history. Get out there. Let your voice be known. We have elections coming up. Go vote, for fuck's sakes. If you don't vote, I don't know what to do. There's a special place that says you don't get any say later. If you want something to happen in this country, you got to vote for the leader you want. And this kind of conversations is what we're going to do all year. And you're going to hear probably stuff you don't want to hear. And I think, we're going to do our best to stay friendly and not get kicked off our tube. Mm-hmm. But, it's reality for us. This is just what we're seeing. I mean, I think about this episode today. I think about the stuff I posted on Facebook recently and wonder, what's a future employer going to look like when they see me? Mm-hmm. So, and we can talk a whole other episode about scams and employment right now. But
that'll be our next episode.
It could be, yeah. But just what goes on the internet list forever? I talk to the children out there at times and say, all that stuff you put out there with you doing this, that, and the other thing, remember, it never dies. The internet never dies, folks. So if you put it out there,
That's right.
it's there forever. And if they want to find a reason to take you away, McCarthy used very simple records that weren't nearly as elaborate and nearly as verbose as we have today.
Right. And look
If-
at the damage he did.
Yeah, we can. And let me tell you what, you won't know it's happening until all the people around it. Too late to make
Great.
change. So just, that's my call to action really for this episode is know your rights, know what you have to do to move on if you have to move on.
Right.
Have a trip bag ready. Have a bag that says you can get out of town. It doesn't hurt.
Agreed.
Have some supplies in your house. This probably all sounds conspiracy, wacko shit, but I'm going to tell you what, I was telling my sister yesterday, there were times where I listened to my father and I said, he's just batshit crazy if he thinks that's what's happening. You know what? Maybe it comes with age, and maybe it's the thing that goes on in my genetics, that the thing a clock clicks, and then you start thinking this. I've also become a bit of a different survivalist as I've gotten older. Thought about the things, the what ifs, and so I got multiple months of rations. I've got a few guns, and if I have to get out of town, I will walk. I'll just head out. I'll walk, and I'll look like nothing. I'll peacefully walk down the street. No one will know who I am.
The reason I was laughing is what I was going to say is if you need to get out of town quickly and all that kind of stuff, call Jim. I will get you the best rates on hotels and.
There you go.
And
we will find you the ultimate getaway.
On that note, I think we probably should wrap up here, Jim.
Yep.
It's been wonderful talking to you, and I agree. I have to be super careful everywhere I go about who I can talk to you about this stuff, and because people are getting their feelings nowadays, and what starts out as a rational conversation turns into a screaming match, and I'm too old to deal with that nonsense. So
and please, if you talk to your friends and you want to have a conversation about this stuff, we invite you to do it. To go talk to your friends, but don't start off in a defensive position. Don't start off with defensive statements. Go in and just say, hey, what do you think about this? And continue to have a balanced, safe argument, a discussion that's healthy.
Right. And like I said earlier, don't get caught up in the lazy rhetoric of pedophile or Nazi or this or that. If like Jim and I've used the word fascist today, read off the damn definition. And I'm not suggesting we're super academic. I don't mean it that way. I mean,
well, probably you are, not me.
Well, when people throw out words, I think often they're just talking points. But I will make a promise to everyone listening, and I think Jim will too. Before we make a blanket statement, we will have either done the research or we'll do just like that. I'll read you the definition. And if right now, I don't care who you are, if you really stop, if you don't have to squint that hard, if you really look at what's going on, it's fascism. I mean, it is. It's a small group of people not following a constitution. And Trump has said out loud, Constitution's a nice piece of paper, but I don't think I have to follow it. So,
and for God's sake, stop watching the same talking heads. If you listen to one news source only, you're wrong.
Right.
Sorry, you're on the wrong side.
And also
go out and spend time curating your news and look for diverse opinions. And that's important, the diverse opinions, because if you want to be a well-educated citizen of this country, the thing you need to do is make sure you know both sides of the argument and you can make a decision and an argument based on what you know for truth.
All right, let's stop there because I think seriously, I think that should be our next episode because I was getting ready to go into an hour-long diatribe. Folks, we'll say thank you. We'll say goodbye to those of us you have stuck with us for this last 6-8 months where we were doing basically nothing but travel. We appreciate it. We appreciate your time.
It was a great year, right, Chuck? We had tens of thousands of listening hours and over 50 new subscribers for a 6-month-old channel. I think we kicked it out of the park the first year. We did a lot of quick pivots and learns. You probably won't see as many guests this season. We're going to be more selective on our guests, but we appreciate everybody being by. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't do this without this gentleman. We've moved our recording time to Saturday mornings, and I get up gleefully thinking about how I'm going to get to spend an hour, 2 hours with my buddy, my best friend. For those of you who don't know Chuck and I, we've spent a total of 5 days in each other's presence in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important fact for you to understand because if we can make a relationship work, that distance, that limited time, that tells you there's ways to find people you can connect with.
Absolutely.
So follow our example if you want. Ask us for help. If you've got opinions to share, please get some stuff in our comments. We want to hear from our community. And we have a Facebook community we've built. We've got our webpage. We've got other things. Just we want you to get in there and have a talk with us. We want to hear what you're thinking because it'll help feed us and give us some fuel for some of these debates.
Right.
If there's things you think you're an expert, you really want to talk about, maybe we'll consider you for a guest. Let us know you think you got something to share.
Yeah.
We're looking for folks. You don't have to be like-minded, but you have to have something to say It talks about critically what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
We don't want to talk Democrat, Republican. We don't talk blue and red.
Nope.
We don't talk leftist and rightist or liberal and conservative. It has to be the difference between what is fundamentally morally right and wrong. And that's an easy decision. No hard things to think about.
Or at
no
least,
gray area.
or it would be.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody joining us today for Life in the Baggage Claim. This is season 2. It was episode 1, your kickoff for a brand new year. All right, Chuck, I got my bags. I'm going to head home.
I will as well, Jim. Thank you. Folks, we'll see you next week. Again, thank you for supporting us, and we'll see you now.